Hello and welcome back, Netrunner faithful. I am Orbital Tangent coming at you from the 2024 World Championship of Netrunner, and I am joined by some of my lovely co-hosts.
Hey, I'm Cranked, he, him. How's it going?
I'm Juniper, she, her, and I'm glad to be here.
Excellent. I also forgot to mention I am he, him as well. So, everybody, we are going to be going over the standings as they currently are for the tournament. We're going to go over kind of what is going on with the tournament and how that stacks up with our predictions earlier in the day. We are about halfway through of the 11 rounds of single-sided Swiss that are going to happen today. We are going to have 3 more that are going to happen tomorrow before the top cut. So, let's go ahead and get started. Juniper, you want to talk about who is in contention, who's basically undefeated at this point?
Well, we only have, I believe, 6 people who are undefeated right now. Those are, oh God, I don't know. Rotom Appliance, Sokka, Zinschling,
Perfect.
Jai, Saf, and CTZ. All of whom are incredible. Like, we watched a CTZ game and a Sokka game, and both of those were incredible to watch. Amazing to watch those decks go off.
Absolutely, yeah. Just world-class players all around. And I think if I might, I'd like to zero in on the one connecting through line.
Yep.
That connects all these players together, and that's their choice of runner ID. All of them are not just representing Shaper, but they're representing the exact same Shaper ID. They're all on Lat. Just the absolute just stranglehold that this ethical freelancer has over the current metagame is just something to behold. What are your thoughts on that, folks?
Well, it's there's only been 5 games played, and that's
Sure.
So 2 players are corp favored, the other 4 are runner favored. So that means with 5 games, everybody getting 2 games. So 6 times 2, that's 12, and then 4 more runner games. That's 16 undefeated lat games amongst the 6 of them, which is disgusting.
Yeah,
that is incredible.
That is incredible. You could also almost call it unethical.
Yeah.
If you could call it unethical. No, it's a testament to just how strong 3 very simple words are when printed on an ID effect. Those 3 words are draw 1 card.
Yep.
It just gives you so much insurance. It just accelerates you. You put all these cards into your deck for a reason when you show up to an event like this, right? You want to draw them. You don't want to click to draw them. You want the game to give them to you for free. Sure, you have to play the goofy little lat mini game occasionally to make sure that you line up on the same number of cards. It's not as hard as it sounds. But just, Lat just absolutely running rampant over a variety of corp IDs. And speaking of a variety of corp IDs, that's also not something we're necessarily seeing at the undefeated tables right now. There's a lot of purple represented up there.
We have 3 different Asas. I wonder if they're playing the same deck, like if that's people working together. Like, I don't know the specific testing groups for different people. You might know that. Like, if people might have coordinated to figure out what decks they want to play.
I'm not sure either. I don't think we've seen any of these ASA lists on stream. I'm hoping that we get the opportunity to.
Didn't we? Well, we've done one ASA list,
Have we?
but I don't think
Okay.
it was one of these. Was that one of the ASA lists here?
I don't believe so. I know we saw.
I don't recall.
We saw Mirror Morph on stream. That was
Right. We saw Mirror Morph.
Yeah, we saw Quesadilla and Mirror Morph. And he's sitting just below in 9th place, sitting at 12 prestige. So a really awesome record of 4-1 as well. But we haven't seen an ASA list. ASA generally considered a little bit more of a fair ID in the current metagame.
We'll have to see once we've seen the list, we'll have to see if that's still true.
That's true. Maybe I shouldn't be speaking on that quite yet. Maybe they're doing some absolutely unfair stuff that we just haven't seen yet.
There's also Sokka on Built to Last and CTZ on Reality Plus. And one person on PD, I believe. Yeah, well, Rotom Appliance on PD. But aside from that, 3 Asses.
Yeah, the PD player as well. Rotom.
Classically, Rotom has won a world championship. The seed 2 and 3, Rotom and Sokka, have both won world championships. Of course, Sokka winning 2 of them.
Yes.
But Rotom famously doing it on Precision Design.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sokka doing it on Built to Last. Not only that, doing it last year. He's going for the run back on Built to Last because this Built to Last, based on the game we just saw on stream last round, looks awfully similar, at least in concept, to the deck that carried him all the way through last year.
There's definitely a lot of new stuff in it. Like
Definitely.
seeing Logjam and stuff.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
It does look really similar.
I wonder if Charlotte Casador is in there. That seems to be a natural fit in a deck like BTL if Startup is any in consideration. But yeah, the core conceit of the deck anyway is quite similar to what did so well for him last year. So it will be really interesting to see how he does with that run back attempt.
I wonder if that gives you an advantage, sticking to a deck that you already know so well and just modifying it in small ways instead of seeing like a big new card and being like, I'm going to change everything about my deck.
I think you're onto something. Generally, at least in my view, it's always better to go with a deck that you have reps on, even if it isn't necessarily the top threat in the metagame. The benefit of having reps and having that level of comfortability on a deck, it just can't be understated.
Yeah, if there is one thing I'd say Sokka's really, really good at. He's maybe the best player of Netrunner I've ever seen. Just in terms of sheer looking at a deck and making it work, he's so good at that.
Absolutely.
I know people who are like great at building decks and great at theorizing about what's work, but in terms of sheer skill at playing the game, he's absolutely stunning.
Definitely.
Absolutely would agree with that. There's one thing I do want to note on what you were talking about with reps. Sokka's wins in Worlds were back-to-back, so they were last year and the year previous.
Yep.
And in the year previous, he was on a lat deck as well. So he's had reps on versions of both of these decks that he's playing, so he's intimately familiar with how both IDs operate.
Now, granted, the run he made in 2022 in Toronto, bit of a different lat deck. That was a time when Apocalypse was legal. So a little bit different than what's going on, but maybe not. I mean, a lot of these lat decks are playing Deep Dive, and Deep Dive has the same play condition as Apocalypse did. So, stands to reason that there may be some sort of transfer of skills that's going on there. But yeah, and then let's take a look at what's been sitting at that 4-1 tier, where folks are definitely still in consideration. Just a few highlights as they come here. Mr. Credit Clicker himself, Timmy Wong, sitting in 7th place, the top of the 4-1 bracket, representing Ag Infusion, a deck that I personally expected to see a lot of this weekend. But I want to zero in on that runner. Yes, it's green, but your eyes do not deceive you. Isla, Bios, Raheem, Simulant Specialist. Let's talk about it. Did anyone expect to see Bios this
No.
weekend?
Absolutely not.
That's what I was hoping to hear.
I love her so much, though.
I do
It's
too.
just so much fun.
Such a wild idea, the ability to set aside, to look at the top 6 cards of your deck before you even draw your opening hand. You get to just tuck 4 of those cards away, tuck those away for later, whether you want to tuck away your tech cards that are going to bail you out in the matchup, or tuck away useless tech cards that don't help you in the particular matchup. Then you get to go look at your starting hand. Oh, and then you get to mulligan if you want.
Now, I have a question on this. Is why go with the Ayla, and what do you think that it's doing? Because we have not seen this deck on stream yet.
We haven't. I would love to see it on stream, because so for some of the older players in the audience who remember a little deck called Cold Ones, some alarm bells tend to go off in our heads when we look at Isla. We see Isla as this combo deck, right, where we're tucking cards away under the ID that are just combo pieces. I would hazard a guess and say that that's probably not what's happening. Now, I haven't seen the deck personally. It would appear to me that this is just a way to add consistency. You're filtering out 4 cards. So you're effectively drawing from a 41-card deck, but you get to sort of choose what cards you may or may not see. You can guarantee that you see the cards that you tuck under the ID, or you're guaranteeing that you don't see them. You don't ever have to click to draw those cards if you want to. You can just leave them there forever if you want, I suppose.
I think Isla is a really difficult identity to play, because I think she tempts a lot of people to... You see those cards under your ID and you're like, oh, well, I can just grab these whenever I want. And you don't realize how much of a tempo hit that can be to go, I'm going to go get a sure gamble from my identity. And you're wasting an entire click to do that, when drawing with a Diesel or drawing with a Nuka or something would be so much better. And I think a lot of people don't realize how to make a good Isla deck.
Yes.
So I'd be really curious to see what this one looks like.
Yeah, me too.
Any thoughts, Juniper, on what that might be doing, that Isla deck? Any thoughts?
I mean, the obvious answer is like using Isla to get the deep dive or such, but I really don't know. I'd have to see it. Right now, we see a lot of deep dive. There's all the tools that Shaper got in the most recent set with all of the Muse and then Coalescence to get tons of money with Aesops and all that. There's all the Trojans now. I'm not sure exactly what you would go for. There's a few different shells you could do. You could do budget kit and try and put out a Lava Summon, but I don't think it's doing that.
Maybe that's a benefit of Isla as well. You flip down Isla in front of the table, your opponent may not have any clue what could possibly come out of that identity. The surprise factor is very real with an identity like that.
Hear me out. Spark, but you use Isla to just put some programs under it so you always know what you're going to get with your Spark.
I love it. I'm in. I'll buy 10.
Okay, I want to turn to something else.
Yes, let's do it.
I really have to direct us to what is directly under Timmy Wong.
Oh, yeah.
And on the runner side, because this is another ID I did not expect to see and did not expect to see this high. So we have the only Ken Express Tenma. I need to talk about this. Who wants to start?
I love Ken so much.
Ken is fun. Real throwback identity, all the way back in Honor and Profit. I gotta think that this is an excuse to splash Trickshot. Ken, I mean, it's a run event. It's everything Ken wants to be doing, right? Ken wants free money. Ken wants extra accesses. Ken's gonna play it for free because it's a run event. It gets you it click compresses 2 runs into one action. So it's just it's granted it's 3 influence, but you look at that number in the corner, 17. Ken's got extra influence.
Also,
might as well.
Most importantly, you get to play as Ken. You get to play as Sonic the Hedgehog.
Of course.
I love him.
Yeah, absolutely. And then bonus points if you're running Swift, my favorite console.
Now, are you running something like Carpe Diem over, like, say, a Sure Gamble in Ken?
I mean, you might run both. You do run Carpe Diem if you're running Swift, especially. Because then it just becomes play this, get click back. But
yes.
I'm not sure. I mean, you want a lot of money. I'd really like to see what the sort of Ice Suite is doing if it continues to do well. If the 4 wins aren't just 3 Corp wins and 1 Ken win, and then we'll see. But hopefully the Ken is performing as well as I can possibly imagine as the world's biggest Ken win. That's how that's how originally the deck I got Pailu to start playing Netrunner with, was just making a quick Ken deck and being like, Deep Dive just came out. Ken Deep Dive, come to the tournament, you can win it. And then I won with it. So now we have horrible PE monstrosities because of it.
That was my next question, is what is the likelihood that it is a Deep Dive Ken deck?
It's a possibility. I actually wouldn't expect it, personally.
I could maybe see 1 Deep Dive if you're playing that, but I don't think so. Like, I would guess it's more of just a value Ken, because I think that's better with Trick Shot nowadays. I think splashing 3 Trick Shots is better than splashing 2 Deep Dives.
In Ken, I would agree. Now, if we're talking about Sable, I think then that's a different conversation.
Sable, a different conversation. A lot of other decks, different conversations.
Absolutely. That Ken player, by the way, Comrade Coheed, sitting in 8th place currently, representing Near Earth Hub on the runner, or on the Corp side rather. Thoughts on Near Earth Hub? What would we expect to see out of any NEH deck?
I have no idea what to expect from Near Earth Hub, because it's my favorite identity ever, and every time I build with it, I make the worst asset spam garbage, and it makes me very happy. But it means whenever I look at anyone else's list, they're like, I'm doing cool kill things, or I'm managing to do things that are actually impressive. And I'm like, this isn't trying to vegan advance a 4-2 that you threw on the table 5 turns ago?
Yeah.
What are you doing? I have no idea.
I wouldn't expect NEH to be playing something like Better Citizen Program or something goofy like that.
I guess it's maybe a kill deck. We've seen a lot of kill decks today. Just standard tag and bag, actually, which is pretty surprising.
Kill would be my expectation with NEH. It's very, very difficult for NBN to score out currently in this meta, and Near Earth Hub, just especially with the ID ability, incentivizing lots of remote play, that horizontal play style, that just lends itself so naturally to a kill strategy with things like Reaper functions and Beholds and Check Scions.
You all are also notably seeing that these lat decks, especially the ones that we see near the top, have expected kill, and they have tech against it. There's a lot of these decks that are running that Stone Ship to fight against a lot of those kill combos.
Yeah, Stone Ship is very hard for some of these decks to fight through, depending on the draw. The other card that I think bears mentioning as an excellent tech card against the acid kill style of play is Cupulation. If you happen to access a kill piece and put it on the Cupulation, it will be there forever. You just never cash the Cupulation in. The corporation has no way of removing that and potentially getting your kill piece back. And many of these lists only run a single copy of Mindscaping or End of the Line. And if you have that card removed from the game, it becomes very, very difficult to win. So Cupulation is another way that Lat can fight these strategies.
Yeah, it's difficult with cards like that to deal with. If your deck is only kill, if it's not kill, but maybe I can score out, or kill, but I can do other things too, and they hit one of those, it's real rough.
Yeah, and I think that's why we're seeing so many players kind of port that strategy over to Reality Plus. Reality Plus just allows you to for lack of a better phrase, give value tags. You know, your pings become effectively free or worth +2 cards into HQ. You can play a small Oppo research for 0 credits. So that's sort of what we're starting. I think it's what I would expect to see out of an R+ list. But that's kind of where the standings are sitting right now. And yeah, that's what things are looking like. And excited to see what's happening more.
There's a ton of other people at the 12 points. Lots of interesting decks. There's a sports medal there, but. I think we're about ready for the next one. Did you want to say something?
One more thing before we go. I just wanted you to speak briefly on where there's one notable absence near the top here, which is you have to go quite far down to find a Hoshiko Shiro. And there are some there, but there's not as many near the top as you would think. Do you think that is going to last? And is there a brief reason why you think that might be?
I think Lat does the reg runner thing so to me there's 2 flavors of Hoshiko at the moment, right? There's reg Hoshiko that's doing things with actual breakers, maybe a turbine, it's abusing things like Banhar, and then there's also ice destruction. The reg decks have a hard time competing with Lat. I think Lat does it more efficiently, and the ice destruction decks, well, if there is no ice, they don't do anything. So the predominance of decks like NEH and Reality Plus kind of make the ice destruction thing a tougher sell for me.
Mm-hmm. I think that's also just the ice destruction decks are maybe struggling. I mean, we saw in the Wayland game, the Sokka's built to last, just a lot of really powerful ice that was really difficult to destroy.
Yeah.
And if you did deal with it, you could just keep putting down more powerful ice. So maybe we'll see it, but I don't know. We'll see where Hoshiko goes. It's always a solid identity, but I think a lot of people are just playing Lat instead, yeah.
Okay, excellent. That is some insight from the desk here at the 2024 World Championship of Netrunner. If you want to check out the standings yourself, you can go to tournaments, I believe.
Yes,
or is
tournaments, plural.
Tournaments.nullsignal.games. So those are up on the version of Cobra that is hosted there. So go ahead and check those out yourself. See if our predictions and our advice and our commentary still hold true. We are going to cut away here and get ready for the next round with your commentators. So please keep watching. Please stay tuned. Always be running, and we'll be right back at you.
And now, broadcasting live from our near-Earth hub studio, we bring you this NBN special report.
Welcome back to the 2024 Netrunner World Championships here in San Francisco. I am Neuropantser, he, him. I am joined by...
Well, it's Andrej from the Medfall Grid, he, him.
And this is a fantastic round 6 coming up, isn't it?
We are not even, I think, halfway through the day. We just got our lunch break. We got to see a new card from Dawn that is being technically soft released here at Worlds, which is pretty exciting. Getting some scoops at Worlds, you always you'd love to see that. But we have a good round 6 coming up again. It's 11 rounds of single-sided Swiss on Saturday before we go back to more rounds on Sunday, and of course a top cut. This is going to be a fun game. I think I have a bit of information on both these decks. On the left, that's Aruzan coming in from British Columbia, Canadian player on the West Coast. Aruzan's been grinding this like Arisanna aggressive deep dive deck. Round 1 today, the tournament, Aruzan, 3 deep dives, turn 4.
3 deep dives turn 4.
3 deep dives turn 4?
3 deep dives turn 4.
That's what he said.
Wow.
And so
How,
we're going to see.
how does the math on that work?
It's you can get this stuff out somewhat consistently. New good card draw. This is like I think a 50-card Arisanna deck. Now Arisanna from the Liberation Cycle. You want to play some Trojans. You want to get those installed clicklessly. And you want to have these cheap breakers, things like Gauss and Oiler, come down cheap and get you early accesses. Now on the right side, this is Booshy. Booshy's been grinding. This is an Teia, another again identity from the Liberation Cycle. This is an ID you might not see too much of, but Booshy's been grinding this one for a while.
Yeah.
And I've seen him play multiple versions of this sort of a Teia. He does care about cards in hand, cares about damage. I don't know if this version is going to be that sort of data loop version where you want to grind someone through that over and over with Nisei tokens, border control, and the run, and then hurt them. Whether you want to use tricks, like you can use agenda counters to Teia install snares in front of people. There's some cool stuff here that Booshy can do.
Yeah.
If you ask me, one of the scary things about Teia is that it's kind of soft to central pressure because it's hard to put enough ice, get enough money on your centrals when you want to commit so many cards for that cool double install remote play.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously you can do so much with those remotes because you're able to build them up so quickly. I mean, you can even play Honest Netrunner and throw some campaigns in them if you want to. But certainly, so here we are seeing the quick compression that Teia gives. Two clicks to throw out 3 cards. Fantastic start there from Booshy. Already have an advancement, threatening something like a Nisei potentially. See how they run potentially. Off-world office just to gain money back. But Arisanna is starting to set up.
Yeah, early environmental testing. If you install 4 hardware program, you get 9 credits suddenly. I think there's a big chance that's going to be a Charlotte. We might have seen it in hand.
That makes sense,
but that's
too.
one of the step 1 setup. It's very common in a lot of Digitech decks modernly. You want to get that engine going. Whether we're going to see Lacosticity grids to get the advancement for free. This is the sort of thing where you're putting multiple threats on the table. And multiple threats it's a bit of a shell game. You don't know which one of these you run. There could be an agenda just sitting on the table there, waiting for a seamless launch to connect.
Easily, yeah.
And we'll see how the pressure comes down. That is a Gauss. Not very common Fractor, but it does come in at 4 strength on the turn it's installed, which can be quite nice. Botu, you break for just 3 credits potentially. We'll see if there's pressure here. You're worried about things like Size and Ton, but this is how aggressive Aruzan could be here. Trick Shot is a start.
Trick Shot.
Forcing the res here on only 5 credits. Maybe Booshy can res 2 pieces of ice. You're looking for a Tattoo Bola to hopefully have some cards in hand.
Now, how big has Trick Shot been on this weekend? You've been on a number of games already, so how many Trick Shots have you seen?
I've seen
so
none.
far? Really?
Yeah, but I don't think
No
I've played
trick
it
shots.
shape.
Okay.
Oh no, I've seen maybe 1.
Okay.
That's
okay.
not representative. No res here.
Yeah, because
obviously
it has been one of the big cards this weekend so far.
This whole year so far. Off the top, that's Lacosta trash for 4 if you want to, but we're seeing
So
1
here's
card deeper.
2.
And it looks like Bushi wants to keep the credits. A Spin Doctor going
that is
down
a Spin
for
Doctor.
NGO friend, excuse me.
NGO, okay.
That's the Barcelona special. Now we're going to the remote server with 4 credits, and Arisanna Stell's ability, whether it's a breaker, whether it's an SMC, whether it's a Muse, Arisanna has so many ways at instant speed.
Saisantan.
Now
That is a nasty face check if you're not able to break it.
Is Arisanna going to flatline here with 3 cards in hand?
Easily could.
Wait, what's in hand? Onacom program. He has no way to break this. If Booshy calls program, which against Arisanna you generally do, if you call hardware, this is going to be a flatline. Now, Simulchip has access. I think there's nothing in the heap besides Diesel. Is this the fastest game we're going to see on stream? What's the name?
I think Booshy said program.
This is lethal if you call program. Onacom.
Oh, wow.
I think he called event. He called event.
Amazing.
Charlotte leaving. That could have been quick. Talk about 3 deep dives in 4 turns.
I mean, that's it. Even though that isn't a flat line, that is a lot of tempo to lose, and those are a lot of tools to lose this early.
Yeah, you're going to have to refill your hand for sure. Now, Saisantan, you can just still fire that Charlotte, get the 3 credits, which, again, Booshy here really needs. That card and the other remote server, we don't know what it is. Advance, I'm assuming another Charlotte. We've seen NGO fronts, we see very willing. Now, doesn't have credits here, Booshy, to score out an actual 4-2, we're imagining. So you're assuming this is an econ play, but at least Aruzan can walk away. That was probably as close to the sun as you can get.
Yeah. Though, obviously, if there is a seamless in hand, this could be an off-world score, go up to 7 credits, something like that.
Could be.
But that is a fermenter coming down.
Name
so
DC.
Starting to get that money ticking up.
Yeah, we'll see. Booshy
on 0 credits currently, so certainly needs to get some amount.
No res, so it doesn't look like it's a Charlotte.
No, that's an advance.
It's an NGO front. We're just cooking it. Yeah, maybe you can expect a 4-2 or 5-3 just behind a Saisantan that Aruzan could not break a turn before. But we're imagining here, you have to imagine Booshy has 8 more credits because that's what NGO front does. Just pop that any paid ability window up to a healthy 11.
Yeah, so the real question now becomes, and this is what I love about the Teia matchup, is you get those double installs. Is this the real server even? Is this actually the remote? Is the other one the actual remote?
It's got to kind of play, exactly what's hitting the table. The res Saisantan is kind of the best thing Booshy has for the board state, of course. Now, 11 credits, meaning a res just about any ice. We're cracking the fermenter. Might want to use the simul chip here. We'll see if we're going to pressure in. That's 1 deep dive down. trick shots. We're running through this.
Okay,
So
running through the Saisentan.
at this point, if Aruzan has something like an Ika, you have to host and break. The break is only 2 credits. The host is a bit more expensive. But we'll see what's coming from hand. I think we see a Muse there. And big thing about Muse is that it should just catapult that environmental testing
Okay, there is the Muse.
to blooming to, the, what is it, 9 credits?
End testing? Yeah. Yeah, 9 off of end testing.
So Muse comes first. Here you can search your stack, grip, and heap for any program.
Man, Aruzan was on 0 credits just a second ago. How'd this happen?
It goes pretty quickly. There's
And that
the
is
Ika.
the Ika.
One of the really cool things about Muse is that if you install Trojan, it just hosts it. And Ika's the only Trojan in the game right now that actually doesn't host on ice when it's installed. So it saves 2 credits. It's a really cool click compressed way to get some credits back. Oh, Booshy pulling out.
Yes!
This is an Ika token that he makes.
Yeah, this is a custom Ika token from Booshy. And one of the things that's actually very nice about the token is it keeps it easier to see the MU altogether.
So we're going to check this. We're assuming it's an NGO front, and that's what it is. Pop for 8 credits. That is the Barcelona Worlds exclusive alt-art from last year. I'm not sure if it's participation. I think you have to win a game. And the Muse now going to get discarded.
Muse is gone.
Our Arisanna specifically says if you use her ability, the program, if it's not Trojan, will get trashed at the end of the run. But now the remote server is a bit compromised. Bushi up on 11 credits. The coolest thing with the Teia is that there's a bunch of agendas that don't see common play across a lot of other Jinteki decks that have really cool utility with this Teia ability. Teia says, mind you, when you install the first time in or in front of a remote server, you can install another card in front of the other remote server, of which you're only allowed to have 2 for no cost, for no clicks. It has another clause that the second card can't be scored if it's an agenda. And there's ways around that with Moonpool, and there's tricks, but the big thing here is you need cards in hand, you need money, and you need to keep the runner busy. This is 3 cards on the table. We're assuming one of those cards is a Lacosta, because we saw that on the top of the deck. That's probably in the upgrade server. That would make sense. And that means a 4-2 agenda can come and get scored for just 6 credits the whole next turn.
Yeah.
Looking at the hand there, I do think we see a Hannah. Very important thing if you want to go for the deep dive. And I'm not sure if Aruzan can suss out what the agenda suite is. Again, flower sermons, stuff like that's pretty cool. But Hannah coming down gives the ability to check the remote servers clicklessly. We're hoping not to end the run because we don't want to take that tag and we can avoid it. You see the hand there. I think we only see a coalescence.
It through.
And
on 15
draw.
credits has bounced back economically very quickly. And there's the Tattoo Bola to potentially bounce back even more. Now, this is an off-turn Teia trigger if you get to swap, correct?
Super important. This is also such a frustrating card for Trojans in general, and luckily Aruzan does just have the Gauss down, but this card will return to hand, and this is the first time swap is installed, which means now if you run this too late in the turn, Bushi can put a card in the first server, the Ekud server, and just score an agenda.
About it. Obviously, there is something in there, so there might be a cost to this, but also could be a good way to sneak something out that you want next turn.
Or you can just put the Tattoo Bola up there.
Yeah, true.
Spin Doctor.
And that's a Spin Doctor. It's getting res to draw some cards. Chooses not to install the Tattoo Bola, so probably wants to put that back on that. Either that remote or one of the centrals, I would think.
Or keep like a swap infinite Tattoo Bola rolling. Sometimes you want to just keep an ice in hand. It looks like Bushi's going to opt to use the Spin Doctor. Did you see what's shuffled in there?
I didn't, unfortunately.
Might have been some Econ. Again, we did see a Charlotte that might go in.
That's a Mavirus.
Just a Mavirus,
okay. Mavirus, yeah.
So my guess is behind that Saisentan is just Lacosta Grid.
Most likely.
Creative Commission to finish the turn off. Aruzan going to gain that Sure Gamble in Shaper colors.
Still staying up on money, so both players in pretty good economic state right now. Obviously, plenty of ice unresed right now that could change at any moment.
Yeah, it's good money.
Yeah.
The question is, what is the sort of risk tolerance you have against Arisanna? Arisanna is one of the runners that is doing the most tricks directly at a hand. So you have to be very confident about making some of these calls. Is a 2-ice server safe? Is a Hush going to come out of hand?
It doesn't feel safe to me.
It doesn't always feel safe. We have 2 kinds of breakers right now. It's just the code gates we can't deal with. And I'm thinking Euler might be one of the decoders here. Aruzan classically also top cut an NPC Boston earlier this year. Playing Mayfly, I think, is one of the options to come out of nowhere. That's kind of cool include. And with the Simul chip too, you can you can get the Muse back at instant speed. So any Trojan you want to get, whether it is the Phaserum Entangler, one of the most powerful Trojans we saw in the last set. In fact, the only Trojan in the last set, if I'm not mistaken.
And here we have another install for 2, quick for 2 installs, and then install behind 2 ice here, and another credit. So certainly representing a very important card behind these 2 ice, but
it's very hard to believe that one of these cards is not an agenda. Spin Doctor didn't do any filtering. We've gone through nearly 12, 13 cards. One of this has to be with points on it. So Alex thinking
like
here,
it needs to be, yeah.
We're checking the remote server.
The wheels. And obviously, this is one of the great things about wheels is this kind of quick compression that you're getting into the runner of you have to spend your clicks running my servers, multiple servers a turn. Oh, that's Fuji.
3 points just behind an ice that can be
3
easily
points?
broken. Now you
That
have
is
to
2
be
damage?
concerned whether this is a punitive deck
It easily
We've seen
could
two
be.
Anacoms out. We've seen no stone ships so far. So you understand next turn, punitive. The credit differentials are definitely favoring the corporation. Losing a diesel into a simul chip.
And a simul chip. Those seem like good hits.
Those are
the diesel's
both
one of the
good.
best ways to protect yourself against punitive. So certainly Booshy's happy to have that out, I think.
Now the Costa City grid in the remote server, that's 4 to trash. And if Aruzan's trying to keep the credits up, might not go down immediately. We still have most of a turn. Again, Hannah not getting the unsuccessful run, but the question begs, what's in the remote server? The heavily iced server is not where the agenda seemed to go. Does that mean there's 2?
There might have been 2. I wonder what HQ looks like. I mean, we haven't seen an HQ run yet other than the deep dive turn.
Now this is where it's
sorry, not the deep dive turn.
really frightening. We have Hannah, we have Simulchip to be able to get the Pichachon, which was trashed off of the non-lethal Saisantan, which means that Aruzan can relatively easily close the game off with a single deep dive.
Yeah.
Just stealing 2 agendas, having so many clicks left to his name to make those 3 runs, and then just get 2 deep dives in the same turn. You can see 16 different cards, access 2, maybe 3 of them sometimes.
And here we just have a Coalesce come down for some money.
Click for 2. Functionally. Again, this gets a bit better with environmental testing, DZMZ, lily pads. I do think we're on an Onacom build, so some of that won't exactly exist. We'll see if there's going to be spec works or whether we're just going to use the simul chip to bring back something here. Whether it's to have the access to the Muse or whether it's to bring back a fermenter to tick in the background. That might
Gonna
be trash
bounce
today.
the Coalescence, looks like.
No, just gaining click for 4.
Yeah.
This is our second simul chip. Now, that card is presenting a fair bit of threat with the ability to get the Muse. Just triple advance.
Triple
Longevity?
advance.
Oh, blood in the water.
Blood
right.
in the water, okay.
Booshy likes this card a fair bit again. I don't know if we're going to see things like Data Loop, that on-encounter barrier that takes 2 cards out of hand. Now, this is just a blank card. Working to make that just a 3-2. Again, the upsides is giving the Fuji, gives you that extra cards in hand. Now, you understand that probably Booshy here is on multiple copies of Blood in the Water. So if you can just end your turn on a lot of cards in hand, that means there's a bunch of bricks in the Corporation's deck. A
Though
blank
obviously,
3-2.
obviously, out of Teia, that's
kinda
unlike
cool.
in PE, where you kind of expect to need to have a lot of cards in hand. In Teia, you're often thinking, well, unless I'm running through a Saisantan and don't have a breaker, I don't need to worry about it.
Yeah.
But this is a good way to punish that play pattern.
I think we're going to assume to see other spiky stuff. A full set of Fuji asset retrievals, probably
Yeah.
some snares as well.
Yeah.
Just ways to do damage. Anemone might make a lot of sense in a deck like this.
Might,
so
might
Aruzan,
have, might have some defensive upgrades that either deal damage or require you to put cards into the bottom of the stack or some things along those lines.
Teia install one thing on top of the Lacosta, Spin Doctor into the more iced server. Going to res that immediately and draw 2. Thinking what to do here. Again, this is not a Ginger Grid deck. We know this is the Lacosta City Grid deck. So trying to figure out how to push forward 15 credits to about 15 credits. And I think here Aruzan needs to figure out like the right ratio of pressuring the remote servers with Hannah and just setting up for the big deep dive. Hopefully forcing Booshy to res some expensive ice on the remote server. We'd love to see a boat tool early before threat and just forcing those credits out of the pockets and then just pivoting central servers, that judo-esque throw. We see their hand
Now,
here.
what is threat for Botu?
4.
Is it 4? Okay.
It's like
So
really
we're
ugly.
just barely
Just
not
underneath
there.
it, yeah. Whenever you play that sort of like punitive ag infusion and you're just playing 3-pointers, like Botu in the late game is really strong, but threat 4 is just
Oh,
such
we have
an
a
interesting
burner
number.
coming in.
Oh, good pressure now. Spin Doctor
Booshy
is
officially on
interesting.
burn notice here.
Yeah. You don't want to put agendas on top of the deck because Spin Doctor can interact, so we might just get cards out of hand so you can go back HQ and run. There's the
Anemone,
Anemone.
though.
This actually gets cards, agendas out of hand.
Out
Spin
of
Doctor
hand,
saves them.
yeah.
So if Booshy understands that this burner is going to do a lot of work, can't just get that agenda to safety. This is going to be 2 damage for discarding a card in hand, and we'll see actually how Aruzan breaks this. It
pinhole
might be
threat.
tricky. How do you break this? Do you just move the Ika over? I guess you do.
I guess.
It seems expensive.
Yeah, it is.
Now with 1 card in hand, this Axis you can die to snare, but it's not an Axis. As huge blood in the water.
Ooh.
Understanding what was thrown out
Blood
there,
in the water on
probably
top.
is a Spin Doctor shuffle.
And on bottom is the Tattoo Bullet.
If you leave that in HQ, you can just run back, but unfortunately that's going to be shuffled away. The Spin Doctor just in the far remote server is giving Booshy control of where that agenda is. Again, a card was discarded from the Anemone into that res. So there might be another agenda face down waiting for Spin Doctor to bring it to safety. Aruzan might run R&D here. You can, I think we have 2 cards in hand, so you don't just die to Anemone, but just keeping the cards up. Maybe not running R&D and just saying, you can draw it if you want. It's not going anywhere. I'm going to keep cards in hand.
As long as you draw up, it's not a great draw.
Oh, we're poking
for,
it here.
For Teia.
This is probably going to force out the Spin Doctor unless Booshy forgets. And
Toll Booth.
I would love to see a Slap Vandal hit that.
Booth, though. Oh.
The art
It would just be so
is telling
artistic,
you what to
agreed.
do here. That's a huge res on R&D. 8 credits. We're going to pop that now. The best case scenarios on approach is actually a Fazarum Entangler. That will just bypass for 1 credit, not caring about the 3 credits hold that the booth is asking. I think that's probably what we're going to get here. We see a couple sprees, and there's the Fazarum.
Yeah,
this
there
is
it
a
is.
Virus Trojan. You can't move it around with the Urban Art Vernissages, but that is bypass, and it's on encounter. And so your on encounter text as the active player as the runner will fire before the on encounter text of the corporation. That's a 1 credit for an 8 credit ice.
And obviously, importantly, Toll Booth is not a barrier.
Yeah.
So this is able to happen.
Now, Aruzan can still flatline here.
Yes.
You can
easily.
shuffle into a... Oh, he's short snare credits some 3.
Oh no!
Short snare credits. Now the shuffle is happening. So firstly, the tattoo ball on the bottom, it's not on the bottom anymore. It looks like Mavirus and 1 face down is going back. No down an agenda that was jettisoned with an anemone. So unfortunately there. Now this is okay for threading the credit thresholds. The remote server still on top of the Lacosta. I think Rashida is the best that Booshy could be asking for.
And it's 2 cards in hand for Aruzan. So another
2
Fuji
cards.
does not kill.
No, Fuji are
Another
okay.
Fuji does not kill.
Access off the top. It's a snare. He's 1 credit short.
Oh!
Gotta reveal that. He's 1 credit short. That would be lethal.
That is 2 brushes
Yeah.
so close with death.
Oh, man.
So close to death twice here. Living on the absolute edge against Teia.
I don't know if Alex is expecting that, but again, 3 and 4 is a huge difference when you're playing against Jiteki. We're running back for a single just to see another card there. That's an NGO front. That's 1 more credit to trash. I think Booshy would love that to
Yeah.
stabilize. A lot of these decks are actually playing things like NGO
Oh,
front.
here's the Lacosta.
So I think that must be a Charlotte.
Charlotte?
Yeah, there you
Yep,
go.
there we go. That's the Charlotte.
Gain 4, draw a card. So a lot of these decks actually don't play hedge fund because abstractly, the free install you get with the NGO front and then advance it is kind of similar to spending a single click on a hedge fund. It's kind of neat, and you can advance it once more. It's it's trashable in R&Ds, some downsides to it, but it's a really cool way to get a Teia value to fire on more than on more consistently on other turns. That's a really good Charlotte. This is a problem for Aruzan. If you do not run that Lacosta into a Teia, or sorry, Lacosta into Charlotte fires every single turn. That's just start a turn, gain 4 credits, draw a card. That's an absurd start a turn trigger.
Yes. Yeah, this is easily one of the strongest cards to come out of R with R, or RWR, I think.
Breathing huge life into things like Ag Infusion Glacier, which is one of the most represented corporations here.
And that was always the problem with Ag Infusion, right?
Money was
you were
tricky.
running so close to the ground because you had your operations and you hoped that you drew them, and then that was your money for the game.
Go Regolith. Yeah, that's mostly what you had. And it was good enough for sure, but you're going to appreciate the Charlotte there. Just spending the whole turn, drawing up, getting down a Simul Chip. That's the 3rd Simul Chip. We've lost 1 to damage, if I'm not mistaken, 1 to, we just used it.
Yeah.
And so here again, I do think with the Hannah, we have the ability, as long as you can run these central servers, then it's all about that unresed outermost ice on R&D. You can throw in a deep dive. Now you need to keep cards in hand, because we find Fujis, you need to steal maybe 2 Fujis, but you're not going to hit a snare because you choose the cards you're going to access. So see, getting
And here we go.
cards-
So choosing to protect the Charlotte with additional ice, that seems correct to me because if this Charlotte, like every turn the Charlotte ticks, your win percentage goes up by a decent amount because that's more ice you can res.
It's a really strong trigger. There we have a spec work, trashing the Muse to get additional value. A really nice interaction. If you're ever going to Simul Chip, don't Simul Chip for the thing, Simul Chip for the Muse if you have another thing to sell to Pawn Shop. All right, deciding with a run here again, if all this ice is being committed to the remote server, that means the central servers are pretty well. Do you see 2 copies of Spree in hand? That gives you the ability to move the
very
Fazarum
interesting.
out.
Yeah.
So we're checking.
Yeah, and normally, obviously, you would say, oh, these centrals are actually pretty well protected. You've got a toll booth on R&D. But
Simulation?
this is one of the few matchups where that's not a good ice.
Tollbooth feels really bad for sure into Fazarum. I'm not sure if Aruzan spend a click to draw already, but we might go for it. Looks like we're going to spree R&D. So the idea is that if you see anything else besides a barrier, you can move the Fazarum. If it's not that, you can just break it with the Gauss, hopefully. So I think the best case for Booshy here would be like a 6 credit res on a mighty Botu. We're going to put down the Pichachon here. So this is Simul Chip. We've already trashed the program. It was Spec Work click 1. So this is Pichachon Hannah. There's a chance this is the last turn of the game. Pichachon, once you pass the ice here, you gain a click back. And we still have the Hannah waiting for an additional click. This needs to be something great. Oh, just another anemone.
Anemone. That could hit a deep dive out of hand if there's one in hand.
Yes, we see 1 in hand. The question is whether there's 2, but there is a deep dive in hand. Booshy.
I believe one was lost to damage earlier.
I don't know. I don't think I saw
I
it.
don't remember.
That's
That is
one
a
deep dive. Alex
That is a
shaking his
deep
hand
dive
there.
Oh,
Now-
that is a huge hit.
Hush is the other option. You want to get through that. Now you still have to consider moving around. The awkward thing sometimes with Spree is that you have to leave the Trojans on the server the run is finished. So we can at least get an access here for 2 credits. But losing the deep dive here, Alex has a chance of drawing up. Oh, we're moving the Pichashon down.
And the
That's so
Pichashon.
cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Pichashon will return to hand after for some additional padding. But you're actually gaining so many clicks here. Alex actually can draw to a deep dive. I don't know if it's going to be perfect. Like, you might not have enough clicks to close the game out. You need it. If you rip an agenda here off the top, that's obviously going to be a big help. You have to be careful. Pichashon will go back to hand. It can only fire twice in a turn. And now with Spree, you can decide where to leave. Off the top, that's not non-C.
That is not an agenda. That is the CEO of Legs.
Yeah, the CEO of Legs. Aruzan thinking there, that was the only deep dive we see in hand. Definitely a pretty unfortunate rip there. Understanding now the lay of the land, it's up to Booshy to do something really aggressive
Draws
there.
Fermenter.
Fermenter and SMC in hand, I believe that's
A trick shot. A trick shot's another way to try to get 2 agendas.
Yeah, you can do it. It's hard. That's a Fermenter.
Okay, Fermenter.
Passive income. It's a trick from working at home. I'm going to go get that mandatory
it's
draw
a
to
trick
Charlotte.
that many runners are using, I've noticed this weekend.
Yeah. Hey, that's a purge. So passive income has stopped a bit, but that's going to get rid of the Vizarum Entangler. So we used 3 simul-chip. I think we've used the same Muse twice. We have a self-modifying code in hand. You can do some real convoluted stuff like self-modifying code into Muse to get your Vizarum. I think MU is actually a bit tight here. We lost 2 Anacoms on turn 1, if not turn 2. That's a lot of MU used up pretty quickly. We have a creative commission here.
Yeah, at the moment, I believe would need to actually trash a program to drop an SMC.
Yep.
So
yeah, you can get rid of the Gauss. A lot of times the
you can,
Fermenter.
yeah.
Prisha's there too. Just checking
We
HQ.
have a run HQ. This is only 1 credit to get in.
Now we
not
know
that expensive.
one of these 3 cards is definitely the Anansi. One of them is a simulation reset. So this access here, I'm not sure how valuable it's going to be.
It's not that high percent. Yep. Once again, the CEO of Legs.
The question is, what's on the far remote server? It's a Spin Doctor. Booshy might have drawn, but last turn
Creative
was Purge.
commission.
Just going to get the money up. Alex resetting there. The deck is on the full play set of Deep Dive, so he just has to find it, and he still has access to all the tricks to be able to get enough clicks. We know that there's a Pichashon hand throwing at the pre-shed that does trash assets, but that's not exactly where the game here is. Bushi needs to find another enemy, needs to snipe another Deep Dive on Centrals. Charlotte, game 4.
I believe that was always my game plan against when Kakugo was legal. That was always my game plan against Apocalypse, things like that. Just hit it out of hand. You'll be fine.
Tempo damage. Upgrade.
Okay, so
top
we have an
and
install advance.
Okay. So I think we can track how many NGO fronts we've seen. It's somewhere between 1 and 2. Charlotte
I believe it's 2.
is unique. Now this Vance on the remote server behind 2 ice. Bushi's credits are a bit stacked, but I would say comfortable.
I believe it's 17. I think those are stacks of 5.
Oh, sick. So good money there. The question is, what are these upgrades? Again, one is on top of the Lacosta. That can't be a region, so we're assuming things like an Anoetic, maybe a virus. Very popular in these decks are both the Sysop things, like Vovo is really nice, and Adrian, because they do slide around, get very easy value when it comes to the text on Teia. Alex is thinking here. He has Sprees. Now that Vizarum is gone, Spree just moves around Trojans, so you can save some money on Anika, but you're going to have to break other ace types for sure. We've seen only 1 Code Gate. I think Code Gates and Jinteki is really tricky. Some decks are just like, I'll play Thimble Rig, I have it enough.
Yeah.
Whether we're going to see a big Atini or Vampire Nasa, some decks can afford it, and right now Bushi can definitely afford it.
Atini is such a beating if you have to actually get through it.
And Bushi cares about cards in hand.
Yeah, absolutely does.
Blood in the Water.
We've already Blood in the Water, Fuji.
Yeah.
Fuji can kill off of an Atini
Yeah.
pretty easily.
So it looks like
especially Threat 3 is online right now.
No choices. The card got less interesting, but more teeth.
I would say it probably got more interesting for Bushi.
Yeah, that's true. Aruzan cracking their Fermenter. On a healthy 12 credits, we see the cards in hand, self-modifying code. The MU is open now, but we're just
importantly,
charging
2
this.
MU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there
That
it
is
is.
a data loop.
So this is what Bushi's been doing, getting cards out of hand, forcing you to run back, whether it's going to be a border control, a Sandstone, Anoetic, just saying you're not going to have enough cards in hand. If you don't have cards enough in hand,
on
Fuji.
encounter, you have to put them. So even if you bounce, you still have to put these cards on,
Unless
the,
you
on
hush
the
it.
top of the stack. True, unless
You could
you
hush it and Gauss it.
You
It's
could
going to be a
hush
bit expensive.
That would leave you with 4 cards in hand.
It could. The hard thing here is barriers are not the easiest thing. Alex, a bit of a grimace there, Aruzan's side.
Right, this is 6 credits to fully break. Well, you only have to break 1 sub.
Yeah, you don't have to do the tag stuff.
So but it is still 5 credits to break through this and 2 cards or a hush.
Yeah. It's likely Aruzan might just walk away here unless we want to Gauss through. Ooh, we're Gaussing through.
There we go, that's 5.
The numbers on Gauss, you don't see it, but it seems like a lot. Deep as Anemone.
Anemone. This takes it down. Okay, this is only 1 card in hand after the Anemone has.
The cards are leaving.
Is this a Fuji?
It's a single advance,
Is
so
this
like
a Fuji?
you can't risk it.
But there's a Lacosta.
I don't know. Is Lacosta unique?
I think if you're able to score Fuji, you would res it.
Yeah, you would trash
Yeah.
the other one for sure. I think you're okay if Booshy fires that. We're gonna move the eco
Okay,
for a
the
break.
eco does move over.
So wait, this can be dangerous. If it's a Fuji, it's
if
flatline.
it's a Fuji, this is death.
I don't know what
If
else.
this is a Biovault and a snare, it's also death.
A virus can hurt you a bit as well. But Aruzan might have to make a hard call here. Clearly, he wants access to these cards if he's moving over the Eka.
Yeah, clearly.
Oh, no?
Oh, bounces. Okay.
Just breaking.
Just
Because
didn't
it's
wanna take
rezzed.
the net.
Yeah, of
Didn't wanna
course,
take
of
the
course,
net.
of course. So here we're going to fire the Lacosta off. We'll see what the advancement is, whether it is just an NGO front or whether it's an agenda cooking, deciding whether to res Charlotte. She is unique. I'm guessing Lacosta isn't unique.
Ooh.
Lacosta's not unique.
Lacosta's not unique. Okay.
It's a named region? That's sick. Oh, it's not unique. Thank you, production.
Multiple grids in Lacosta.
Triple advance. Let's see that
apparently.
Fuji.
That
It
is a
was
Fuji.
the Fuji.
And there we go. Drawing up to not die. Made the right choice not going into that server.
For sure. Losing a Montreal self-modifying code and a spray Booshy tap in that one.
Oh.
That's a nice one for my local town.
Probably still sweating a little that one of the cards trashed was not deep dive.
Yeah, I don't think he has one in hand. Now, he lost to Peach Champ. I think he lost a Muse at some point, too. But Bushy's down on only 5 credits. The problem is, like, Charlotte's just going. A pinhole got lost. Charlotte could come down so easily with a pinhole threading. But Aruzan's just struggling to try and find the deep dive. We see the hand there. I think a trick shot, a sure gamble is what I see.
Yeah, this is one of those play patterns that you get against Jinteki. You know how there always used to be the Anarch sure gamble, click for 4 credits. This is the build your own diesel plus a card.
We got Nukas. We got so much card draw of action there, but Aruzan is, again, the Onacom's getting lost early. Can't help when you want to go through your deck this quickly.
Oh, it's huge. Because one of the great things about Onacom is it actually does trigger off damage.
For sure.
So probably would have triggered multiple times if it had gotten down early.
Now we're up. Bushi on game point here. Going to replace the
trashing
Charlotte.
with Charlotte.
So whatever goes in this remote server, you're assuming it's important, but as soon as install advanced, the question is whether Aruzan can crack that remote server or not. Bushi doing that double install. There actually could be
Okay,
2
the double
agendas on the
install.
table. It's
Easily could be.
very hard to deal with 2 agendas on the table.
Especially if the one behind the data loop is a Fuji. Oh, okay, installing ice instead.
It's cheap. It's free.
Right.
You always
it's free.
want to do that,
It's
yeah.
free.
The big thing about Teia is the second install is ignoring all costs. So that is one of the few, I think, idea abilities in the game that scales to late game.
Yeah.
Because it gets cheaper and cheaper, better savings and better savings.
And honestly, this is something that I think it is easy to overlook the power of the phrase ignoring all costs, regardless of what circumstances.
Save a click, save a 2 credits is pretty important. Now we're starting there with a credit into a sure gamble, if I'm not mistaken. Only 2 clicks left. Now we have the Hannah, so we not only can check clicklessly, we can also like remove a tag, potentially, well, regardless, get more clicks on the turn. But Aruzan needs to call this right. Now
The tag actually is relevant because of the data loop.
Oh yeah, that's funny. That's really funny.
Yeah.
So we'll see which one you run first.
Okay.
Only
looks
click
like this is
2
a
clicks
click.
here.
So a click to normal run.
Yeah, just
I imagine you want to
charge it.
save the wheels as long as possible.
I'm
Well,
not
you-
sure. Yeah,
well-
if you're expecting to take tag here, I don't know.
Yeah, if you're expecting to take tag, you're worried about the wheels getting trashed, right?
But you
Because
can always just
you
panic
might
and
need it for
remove
a deep
it.
dive.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's true.
And you'd rather have it for that deep dive turn because you do still need to steal 2 agendas.
Now we've seen every single anemone. The first ice not rezzed. Aruzan with a couple cards in hand. That's just a thimble rig. That's a 0-cost code gate. That is going to be genuinely taxing. The one option we have in the hand is actually just a Mavirus. Now, in theory, if Aruzan installs that on approach, Bushi can actually res a Mavirus. The timing here is important. If you install it on encounter, you can't res a Mavirus. You have to make sure you're doing this on encounter. This is a huge timing thing. You need to do this on encounter. Because Bushi cannot res cards on encounter. So it looks like
So
the
that
timing there
Botchus
might
can't
have been,
break.
you have to be very careful there, because now the Botchus is purged out. Again,
Yeah, that's a very important interaction
Yes.
for people at home to know.
a lot of
say.
folks might not realize that, but Corpse can only res cards during the approach window, and you're allowed to botch us on encounter. It is just functionally an icebreaker. It doesn't say like
Right.
when you encounter, it doesn't have
Right.
to be there on approach. So unfortunately, Aruzan is going to get purged out there. No simul chip to flicker that out. And it looks like whatever's in that server really does matter. Hannah
Is Wheels going to the other remote?
could just
Is
check
that
it.
what we're seeing?
Worried about how many cards you have in your hand. You still only have a killer and a
Yep,
fractor.
we are going to the other remote.
So if this run's unsuccessful,
So
now
it's,
this-
I believe this is 5 credits for Booshy.
Yeah,
So probably I would imagine maybe no res other than a Tatu Bola, because this could be a snare in the remote.
there must be bolas. We've seen them.
Yeah.
No res on the Outermost.
No
That's a
res.
data ward. Going to put
I
two
mean,
cards on top of the deck.
Data ward on top of the deck.
Now you still have to break that subroutine. I
Yep.
think it's 4 strength. Again, what are the Gauss numbers?
It
They're
is.
probably
it
not
is,
good.
it's 2, so it's 1 strength, 2 to boost 2.
Ooh, that's
So you have to
bad.
boost twice, and you have to break 1 sub. So
Ooh,
it
that's
is
a lot of
5.
money.
And it is 1 to break the enemy sub.
Leaving.
So if this is 2 trash costs, no, it is longevity serum though. That does
Huge.
tie the game up.
But Booshy might just have another agenda on the table.
Yeah,
Alex
so
asking.
that's the do you have it? The universal gesture for am I dead?
Are
have
we
you presented lethal?
playing shell games? Is the Thimble Rig just going to keep you out? Starting with the spec work there, just to
Spec
trash, get some cards here. The only thing Alex can do here is maybe figure out how to make one good run R&D, but Arisanna has been used. Running Archives, running HQ, those are your other options. But if you're expecting 2 agendas on the table, do you think there's a third in HQ? Alex shaking the hand here. Aruzan with still a couple clicks left, mind you. There's a lot of power in that Hannah. I think we have a trick shot still in hand. The question is, how do you get through it? The toll booth. If you have a Muse,
So many tools used this game. Just
Running.
running HQ, hoping that Booshy is hiding 1.
paying 3 to get that squid in. Single access. We think agenda's on the table. That's
That is not an
Daniela?
agenda.
Or Daniela? Yeah, Daniela.
Yeah, Daniela. That is
Okay.
not an agenda though.
Ignacio,
Importantly.
just top deck. Got to watch out. You need that Lacosta trigger.
That's a
just
Lacosta.
enough money.
Advance.
Blood in the water.
GG. Well played by both. That was a hard-fought game.
That's a cool fork. Just putting the agendas on the table. Bushi's gonna take it there. Just jamming on the table, saying, I'm gonna make 2 problems. And Arisanna once per turn ability. Sometimes 2 problems is 1 problem too many. Well played to both players.
Yeah, that was very back and forth.
That's a cool game.
I was convinced that we were going to see a deep dive to win pretty early on.
Yeah,
but
lots of
then just
damage.
Snipe. Yeah,
Just sniped it.
You can always snipe it. That is
Yes.
always a valid line of play.
Yeah, Arzon's been repping the deck for a long time. It's very explosive. It can deep dive out of nowhere, but just keeping the game in the remote server, leading that dance is super important. So
Yeah.
well played to both players.
Yeah, that was a
That's-
great round 6. I think
That's
we're gonna.
round 6. We're just at the halfway point, if I'm not mistaken. It is a wild day here in San Francisco. We're at a Hyatt hotel right near the water. It's been a lovely city. You've been enjoying San Francisco?
It's been fantastic. Yeah,
been nice.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for tuning in again. We have 5 more rounds to go here.
We do.
This is 204 players came out today to vie for the World Championship title. Yesterday was Crown of Servers. Tomorrow, day 2, startup event. There's a lot of stuff going on.
There is.
Thanks so much for joining us. I think we're going to be back in a bit. We're going to be throwing
Yep.
to a break. We might have some talk, but we're only about 10 minutes away from the beginning of round 7.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and throw it to a break. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Please be back for round 7.
Thanks so much for watching.
Yeah.